Hello everyone and welcome back to the Sicilian Dragon. Today we're looking at the 2024 Speeches Championship second semifinal, the very highly anticipated Magnus Carlsen versus Hans Niemann semifinal matchup. This was people went crazy for this and they finally got it. So yeah, basically what happened was Magnus took an early advantage in the beginning and essentially never let it go, so to say. And yeah, Magnus won in the end. But I'm going to show you the point where he looked most dominant, where he took a 10-point lead. This is in the bullet section, the 1 plus 1. And let's take a look. We have a Karokan exchange with bishop d3, knight f6, h3, knight c6, knight f3, knight b4, which is interestingly enough the top engine move. Castles, and basically Hans gets the bishop pair, Magnus has doubled pawns, and that is why it's minus zero point 0.2 almost. But now he plays g6, and Magnus is now 0.3 up, just like that, because it's his bullet. He spent a second on that move, 2 seconds. Knight c3, bishop g7, rook e1 castles, bishop f4, and now Hans plays a6, and now after queen b3, Magnus would have been winning. So basically, it looks not winning, but very strong after queen b3, b5, and then this kind of stuff. Magnus has play in this position more than Hans. Yeah, rook c1, bishop d7, knight e5, b5, and now it's again 0.9, queen d2, e6, and now Magnus can really be decisive with bishop g5, rook a7 from Hans. The computer here wanted bishop e8 or b4. We have rook a7, knight e2, queen b6, rook c5, and it may surprise you. It looks like such a amateurish move. It's one of Stockfish's top lines here, and it retains Magnus's advantage. Bishop e8, rook ec1, knight d7, rook c6. If in case you're wondering, taking the knight to keep your rook on c5 is actually not as good because it's not really doing much, just blocking the queen. But it's still it's okay. It's okay for Magnus here. Anyway, he plays rook c6, which is actually much better. Queen b7 on the move. Rook c7, and Hans enters a position where he has two rooks and Magnus has a queen. It's plus 1.5 around, approximately. Knight f3 now gives away the entire advantage after f6. Hans pulls himself back into this game. Magnus plays bishop f4, and now Hans, one move after pulling back, gives the advantage back again after d takes e5, f takes e5, and now bishop h6. And you'd think that he would have taken, um, but you know, like 2 seconds to think doesn't give you much time to evaluate all the moves. Bishop f7 is the second move from Stockfish, but it's considered a mistake after bishop takes and king takes. Now queen b4 was what the engine wanted, but d4 still has an advantage after e4, knight e5. But instead of taking, he plays knight f6, which is about zero point 0.6 worth. Knight g3, h6, and now queen f4. It's now 0.8. So Hans can try. He maybe has something, especially because he's up almost half a minute. Bishop e6 though, blunders knight g6, rook, and now rook c8. If you take with the king, then you win the rook. Then you lose the rook. So a nice tactic from Magnus. And also now you have to move the rook. Knight h4, and Hans resigns here because it's hopeless. +4. if you're thinking rook c1, king h2, you can try to ravage the like rooks on the second or seventh for white, second for black. Um, but like these pieces are going to be a pain for him, and his king is quite open. Oh, sorry, not queen f5. My bad, knight f5. But the pieces are going to be like the king is very open here, and yeah, Hans resigns, and Magnus takes a 10-point lead. Eventually, in the end, by the last game, um, which Hans won, it was a 5-point gap between the two. But yeah, that's the final. Ali Reza Faruja versus Magnus Carlsen on September 8th, 2024. Third place match is today on the 7th. And yeah, Hikaru versus Hans. Both interesting matchups. We'll see what happens. See you next time.